Yo, what is up, everyone? I'm Chris, and we're Amulet's House here, and today we're back with another part of My Hero Academia. What if All for One and All Might swap places? So last time we left off, we just finished a sports festival, and here would be the aftermath of what happened since part three. A couple days after the sports festival, the world was in shock after what had happened after the final match. Without a doubt, Deku grew famous, quickly being known as a student who can fight against the evil villain All Might. The classes go back to normal, and so does the people. Everyone isn't worried about the fight because no one knows that All for One lost his power that was able to fight against All Might. The only other quirks besides him taking quirks that All for One has that only him and Deku know is Living Long, Teleportation, Absorption, Flash Guard, which can flash opponents if they hit the user's body, 3 uses per 15 minutes, and Rope, can shoot a rope from anywhere from his body and has amazing technique with using the rope. During class, Deku isn't paying attention since he is more worried about the fact that All for One would die if he went against All Might without counter impact. During all this, Aizawa calls him out to pay attention and Deku gets embarrassed. Aizawa then goes back to talking about the offers the class got from different agencies, and of course, Deku got an offer from every agency in Japan, and his whole class is shocked about that, and they ask how Deku feels about this, but again, Deku is trapped in his own thoughts. Bakugo yells at why he gets to get all the offers from all the agencies, still being a bit salty from losing to Deku badly. At the end of the class, Aizawa pulls Deku aside and asks him what is wrong, and Midori just gave him a simple lie of family problems, then tells Aizawa that he will join the agency that is run by All for One. Later at lunch, Ochako and Ida goes to Midoriya and asks why he's been so worried ever since he fought All Might again. And he replies with them with the excuse of getting famous so quickly that it's hard for him to process the fact of that. Midoriya starts heading home but is stopped by All for One and he teleports both of them to a secret hideout. Midoriya is stunned about this secret hideout and All for One says that he's been having his hideout for the longest time, but then he tells Midoriya to sit down because they need to talk. All for One just says that his end is coming to Midoriya and this scares him. All for One thinks it's better to just tell Midoriya the truth on what's most likely going to happen in this fight. Midoriya says that they can beat him together as like master and disciple. All for One says no because no student should be fighting a villain that deadly, but Midoriya tries to speak up, but All for One stops him, saying that the only reason Midoriya is alive is because of the challenge he told to All Might. Midoriya pipes down and looks downwards. He says that he cannot watch his idol just die when he can do something to save him. All for One says that before he fights, he's gonna give Midoriya all of his quirks. Midoriya screams out no and to stop saying that he's going to die when they could both work together to beat the ultimate threat. His eyes rolling with tears, hearing how All for One is talking. Then All for One gives in, telling him that they would both beat All Might together. He then teleports Midoriya, where he first picked him up, and Midoriya continues to walk home, a bit less stressed about All for One dying. Then a man in a black hoodie comes up to him and gives Midoriya a creepy smile. It was Shigaraki. Midoriya prepares to fight it out with Shigaraki, but Shigaraki only wanted to talk. He then states that he will be the future enemy for Midoriya. Midoriya is confused by this, and then Shigaraki then explains that All Might's power can be passed down, and Shigaraki will be the next holder. He talks about how his passed on by the previous user before All Might was his grandmother, and said that he would also take his revenge on All for One, but since he will die by All Might, he seems rather close to Midoriya. Shigaraki decided that he will take out his successor, Midoriya. He gets a little nervous about this, and then Shigaraki says, try anything funny about their deathmatch, and I will come for the ones you care about most. And then he leaves. Midoriya is paralyzed in fear hearing this, and then he thinks about his mother, his classmates, his 2 mentors, and All for One. The next day, he gets to All for One's agency and tells him what had happened, and All for One says not to worry. He'll get his mother somewhere safe, but the first thing that they have to do are going to have to tell her their secret. At the end of the day, they arrive at Midoriya's house, as hidden as they can to look out for Shigaraki. Enko is confused on why the number 1 hero is at their house, and Midoriya starts to explain the secret and how it all began. Afterwards, Inko is in shock and then turns to All for One angry at putting her son at risk. But Midoriya defends All for One and explains how important this is and how that he is willing to take on whatever he needs to protect and save everyone. Midoriya then explains how they are going to need to hide her for a while, and Inko tries to talk Midoriya out of this situation and trying to make him not fight All Might. but Midoriya is staying with All For One to help him. Enku starts to cry, being so worried for her son, but he promises that it will be all okay once he defeat All Might, and All For One steps in, saying that he will protect Midoriya at all costs, and then Enku starts to calm down and gets her things packed. I do want to state one thing about this arc being completely different. One thing about this arc is where Stain attacks, and all of the Nomu attacks doesn't happen. Without the Nomu attacks, Stain would have never been caught by Deku and Ida, so he can get to continue his killing spree without being disturbed. But don't worry, he is not out of the story. So now it's time for the teachers versus student exam, and it all goes the same except for Deku and Bakugo versus All For One. Midoriya is worried that it won't be so easy to work with Bakugo after the sports festival, and he is planning to hold back against All For One. The test begins, and he tries to talk to Bakugo, but he ignores Midoriya and goes to fight All For One. Midoriya chases after him and tries to talk to him, but Bakugo gets annoyed and slams Midoriya into the ground, yelling to shut up. He screams from the top of his lungs at Midoriya, when suddenly All For One appears behind Bakugo and he kicks him in the stomach, which launches him back a bit. Midoriya gets up ready to fight him, but he holds back heavily, but then he soon realizes that it's a mistake. All For One may not have counter impact anymore, but he has lived a long time and with that time comes experience with many fights, and just his pure strength alone is pretty strong, and he knocks Midoriya into a wall. Bakugo goes in rushing at All For One, blasting him in the face, where Midoriya is about to scream no, but he keeps it inside not to bring out the secret of All For One. Then All For One grabs Bakugo and slams him into Deku. Midoriya quickly picks up Bakugo and uses counter impact to just make it to the finish line, but All For One uses his teleportation to stop him. But Midoriya quickly reacts and flicks All For One away and uses his entire storing of pain into one move, and him and Bakugo make it to the finish line. Bakugo is angry at Midoriya for leaving the cowardly way instead of fighting All For One, and Midoriya apologizes, but in his mind he was worried that All For One would get seriously hurt, so he didn't want to take that chance. They end up both passing the exam. After school, All For One pulls Midoriya aside before he meets with Aizawa for their training, and he tells Midoriya that the fight would be after they return from the summer camp they are going to, and he explains a plan to Midoriya on how they would beat All Might, and Midoriya nods at this, and he left All For One. Before he left, All For One gives Midoriya one more quirk. He gives Midoriya his rope quirk and tells him that he needs this for the plan. Midoriya arrives to the training grounds apologizing to Aizawa for being late. Aizawa doesn't mind and tells Midoriya that they will continue their training with Aizawa's capture tape. Midoriya uses the capture gear with him, and Aizawa realizes how good Midoriya is with that item. In Aizawa's mind, he just thinks Midoriya is naturally talented, but in reality, the Quirk rope helps him with the ability to use his capture gear. Midoriya trains with the item most of the training time. He heads back home, laying on his bed, mostly worrying about the big fight and how he and All For One will beat All Might. So skip forward to when the summer camp and they have to find their way out of the forest. Midoriya gets there easiest and quicker than anyone in his class. Deku in this what if is way more skillful and smart, with having being trained by Aizawa and All For One. Their stay at the camp goes similar, and when Midoriya gets to Koda to give him food, he checks his phone to see the news, and suddenly All Might appears on the news, announcing that he wants his death match with All For One right now. Midoriya's in a panic and tries to get Koda to bring him indoors, but Muscular and Shigaraki stops him, saying that he isn't going anywhere. The rest of the league is doing the same thing as in canon, but isn't looking for Bakugo. Midoriya is stuck far away from All For One and has to deal with the League of Villains before going to All For One, and he is worried that he will not make it in time. So guys, that's where we're going to end it off here. I hope y'all enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. If you have any ideas for any what if for My Hero or for any anime, leave it down in the comments down below. Share this with all your friends, and thank y'all for watching. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.